Hey guys, and welcome to Groovy Eats. I'm Kristen Hess, food stylist, photographer, and creator of the Artful Gourmet. Today, we are going back all the way to the 70s. That's what season 1 is all about. The 70s weren't just a decade. They were heartbreak and harmony, late night dinners, and music drifting through the windows. Eclectic as a period, it's one of my favorite decades of all time, which is why I'm starting the show out with season 1. Today, we are going all the way back to 1975, West Hollywood, to celebrate the Eagles and their #1 song, Best of My Love, that was #1 this week, back in 1975. Dan Tana's was the place that the Eagles would hang out after they played out at the Troubadour with people like Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt, Joni Mitchell, J.D. Souther, all of the musicians, singers, songwriters that were during that time hung out at the Troubadour. They would go to Dan Tana's late at night, drink some vodka tonics in booth #4, and eat some chicken Parmigiana and their favorite dish, spicy Penne Arrabbiata. That's what I'm going to be making for you guys today. So let's get cooking and let's go back to 1975. So let's start with Dan Tana style chicken Parmigiana from 1975. The secret to the chicken parm is that Dan Tana's pounded the chicken super thin. And they actually used an old school layering technique that I'm gonna show you guys, where we put the sauce on the bottom, then we put the crispy chicken on top, add a little bit of sauce, some cheese, and then we're gonna broil it till it gets super bubbly. So the first thing we want to do is get your breading station ready, which I have here. I've got a bowl of some searing flour, which is just a super fine flour, like 1 drop, a little bit of salt and pepper. I've got some eggs that are beaten up here, and then some Italian breadcrumbs mixed with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm going to show you guys how to do the breading. First, we're gonna actually butterfly the chicken. I'm gonna actually cut the chicken in half and pound it thin. Then we're gonna start dipping and going through the dredging station. Okay, so let's get started with the chicken. Like I mentioned, I have 3 boneless chicken breasts. You could use 2 larger ones, but I'm using 3 because they're a little bit small. So what we're gonna do is start out by cutting them in half lengthwise, and then we're gonna pound them super thin and start the dredging. So just want to get your chicken on a board. I would recommend put a little wet paper towel underneath your cutting board so it doesn't slip while you're cutting. And then you're going to very carefully lay your hand on top, and you're just going to cut the chicken breasts in half into thinner cutlets. And you can just keep them here on the board because we're gonna bread and coat them like I mentioned. I would start with the wide part of the chicken too. It's a little bit easier, and just be careful with your hands while you're cutting. So butterfly these. And basically what butterflying means is if you want to cut them in half and open them up to have a bigger piece, you could do that too. But I'm making smaller pieces because I think that they're easier to eat. And okay. Cut these. Real careful. Okay. So we've got our chicken here. Now we're going to get into the breading and the dredging part. Okay, so here comes the fun part. We are going to do our flour, egg, breadcrumb. Get these babies on a sheet pan, and we're going to throw them in the oven, 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. So here we go. Like I mentioned, we are going to, before I start doing that, start pounding this chicken. Some of these are pretty thin already. You want them about 1/4 inch thick. So you can use one of those meat pounder things. I have a heavy pan. It's just as easy, you guys. So just smack them down. Just get them nice and thin. So see, they're kind of thin already, so I'm not gonna pound these too much, but thin just helps the chicken cook a little faster, and it also makes it a little crispier too. Because we're gonna be frying these in oil, so just make sure you got them about 1/4 of an inch thick. Pound them down. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys how to do the dredging. So I learned this in cooking school. I do the 2-hand technique. First, you wanna do the piece of chicken in the dry, okay? So you're gonna just pop that baby in there, start putting some of your flour on. Get it nice and coated, really good. And the reason I like Wonder flour is because it's sort of a thin flour. It's a nice searing flour, and it's not too thick, so it won't get soggy in the oil. Okay, so you're gonna do that first, put it in the flour. We're gonna pop it in the egg wash, switch hands, because this hand's gonna get wet and kind of messy, and you don't wanna mix it in with your dry stuff. So we're gonna just pop this like this. I'm gonna shake off a little bit of that extra egg. Now we're gonna pop it in here, and we're going back to the other hand. So what I do is just pop it in there, get all those nice breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese on top. Just sort of pat it on there. Flip it around a little bit. Make sure you get all the edges, because we want all that crispy, breaded, cheesy goodness on every part of the chicken. And there you go, voila. We've got a chicken parm cutlet ready to go. So I'm gonna just lay them down there, and then I'm gonna just do the rest of these. So bear with me while I do this. It doesn't take long. This recipe, it probably takes 30 minutes total. It doesn't really take that long, and it's so good. Who doesn't like a good chicken parm, right? Dan Tana's was the place to be, and the Eagles went there all the time because it was right next to the Troubadour, and that's where they played out. And they would sit in booth number 4. Henley loved the Penne Arrabbiata. I'm gonna show you guys how to make to go with this, which is really just a spicy penne. And it's gonna be delicious with this chicken parm. And for the chicken parm, I'm gonna just use a regular marinara sauce. It doesn't have to be spicy. If you wanna use the same sauce that you use for the penne, go for it. But the traditional way of making it is just a plain tomato sauce, like some olive oil, garlic, maybe a little oregano, dried basil, salt, pepper, and some crushed tomatoes. Or you can use a store-bought marinara sauce if you like to, if you wanna save some time. So, okay. Here, and then I'm going to show you guys how to fry them, and then we're going to top them and get them in the oven and get that cheese, sliced mozzarella, melty and bubbly and golden brown. Okay. Like I said, you want to make sure some of this kind of drizzles off because you don't want too much egg on there. But this is so easy, so fun. And just remember the 2-hand technique. I always forget. And you could wear gloves if you want, but we're doing it the rustic style here. This is gonna be so good, you guys. Actually, chicken parm is one of my favorite recipes ever. I'm not Italian at all, and I always wish that I was. I did date a guy in Brooklyn once, and he made really good lasagna. Super good Italian. And Dan Tana's is definitely an Italian-American restaurant. Like, it's got the red and white checkered tablecloths, the tuxedoed waiters, and all the Hollywood stars hang out there. Actually, the Penne Arrabbiata is named after Michael Caine. And all of their dishes at Dan Tana's have like a celebrity attached to them. I don't think the chicken parm did, but it happens to be one of their most popular dishes, which is why I'm making it. And I know the Eagles sat there and had their vodka tonics and red wine and ate their chicken parm, and they wrote Lion Eyes there. The story goes, Henley and the Eagles, Glenn Fry, they were sitting there And Glenn Frey noticed a girl at the bar, and she was this beautiful woman with an older man. And he looked at his buddies, the Eagles, and said, "Look at those lion eyes." And then from there, they ended up writing that song in like 15 minutes, which is amazing. So this was definitely the spot where they were inspired. I think at the time when Best of My Love was #1 from their third album, they were actually in the middle of writing one of these nights. And that actually came out a little bit later in June of 1975. So, you know, a lot of the hits that we know, like Desperado and Take It Easy, that was from like some of their early albums. And they really started out as like a country rock band. And they all met, like I said, at the Troubadour and at these parties where Joni Mitchell and Jackson Browne hung out. And yeah, they just met by chance. I mean, Glenn Frey was from Detroit. Henley was from Texas. They were all in different bands. And they started out, they actually met at the Troubadour, like I said. They met Linda Ronstadt and Jackson Browne. And they backed up Linda Ronstadt's band in like 1971. Did that for a little while. And then Henley and Frey decided they wanted their own band. So they started out with that Eagles album, the Desperado album, which wasn't really even kind of a hit. Not to start out with. Eventually it became one, but then this album, Best of My Love, they started doing it in London. They were recording it in London with their producer, Glyn Johns. Apparently they didn't really get along with Glyn Johns. He was really controlling and really wanted the Eagles to keep their country rock sound. And the Eagles wanted a harder sound. Glenn Frey wanted to be a rock band, you know? They really wanted to get into rock and roll. You had other bands out there like Led Zeppelin and Bad Company, all these other rock bands. And so yeah, so that's where it all started. The Troubadour, Dan Tana's, so that's why I'm making these dishes for you guys. This is gonna be so good. Okay, so we've got all of this chicken breaded. It's gonna be delicious. So stay tuned. I'm gonna get this cleared out and then I'm gonna come back and show you guys how to fry them up in some oil, get them nice and crispy brown. We're gonna layer them in the dish with the sauce and the cheese, pop it in the oven, and we're gonna have some chicken parm. And then I'm gonna show you guys how to make the penne arrabbiata. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's start making our chicken parm. Like I mentioned, we're gonna take the breaded cutlets that we just did in our breading station. I've got about a ½ of an inch of neutral oil, like a vegetable oil, in a pan on about medium high. You want it to be hot enough that it's gonna fry the cutlets, but you don't want them to burn. So we just want to get a nice golden brown because we're going to actually finish them in the oven at 400 for about 5 or 10 minutes afterwards once we put the sauce and everything on top. So I just tested it out. The way to test your oil, take a little breadcrumb or two, put it in there. If it sizzles and starts browning, it's hot enough. But if it's turning black, then you know it's too hot. So let's get started with frying. I have a plate over here with some paper towels. Once these are all done, we're gonna start plating them in the dish to go in the oven. So let's just start out. I'm gonna actually do these in batches, maybe like 3 in the pan at a time, because you don't wanna crowd the pan. You wanna give it enough room to cook these babies. And you're only gonna just do a couple minutes per side. Like I said, you want them to get golden and crunchy, but you don't want them to burn. And you don't want them to get soggy either. So you want to make sure your oil's hot enough. So we're going to just let these go for a minute. And yeah, we'll just watch them patiently. Like I said, the Eagles, they would hang out at booth #4. I think Henley and Frey, like I said, they were living together, writing all their music. One of these nights was about to come out in the next couple months. And one of these nights is actually one of my favorite songs. But yeah, Best of My Love. It was a slower song. It was a little more country, but it reached #1. They actually recorded it in the fall of '74. but it did reach #1 for about a week or two, starting this week through the first week of March. So that's why I'm highlighting this song. And I love the Eagles, you guys. I've seen them live. Don Henley, I think I've seen at least 2 or 3 times. I've seen him in like Atlanta, New York, I don't even know where else, maybe even in Melbourne when I was in Australia. And then I went to a classic rock East concert with my sister back in, I think, 2017. You guys, this was the best concert I've ever seen in my life. It had the Eagles, obviously Glenn Frey wasn't there, but his son was singing in his place, which was so cool. It also had Fleetwood Mac, they had Journey, they had Doobie Brothers, Earth, Wind and Fire. It was seriously the best concert. It was 2 full days, and it was at the Met Stadium in New York City, and it was just a big open, you know, stadium. And it was all day for 2 days. We had so much fun. So I'm glad I got to see the Eagles. They're actually playing, I'm just checking it. They're starting to brown, but you want to get them a little more golden brown, so I'll leave them another minute or 2. Yeah, they're actually playing again, and I think this is going to be their last concert tour this year, which is so sad. But they're playing in Vegas, and tickets are kind of crazy expensive, so I don't think I'm going, but I would love to see them again. They're seriously one of my favorite bands, and you know, this is all a tribute to Glenn Frey, of course, too. He was so cool and one of the main founders. All right, I'm gonna just turn these a little bit. They're starting to brown. I don't wanna put this thing on high because they'll get too brown too quick, and then the chicken won't be cooked inside. So you wanna just keep it, like I said, on a medium-high heat. So we'll just let these guys cook a few more minutes. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Like, do you love the Eagles era from like the very beginning with Take It Easy and all those songs, Desperado? Or do you like their mid-career, which is kind of what we're talking about now with Best of My Love and One of These Nights? Or later on when they did Hotel California, which actually didn't come out until '77, and that was like the #1 song, album, everything. But the reason I wanted to highlight this song was obviously because it's #1 this week, but also it was like their midpoint in their career. And it was a turning point for them, really, from going from country rock to more of a harder edged rocky sound. And then obviously Hotel California, Take It to Limit, all those albums later on, they were big superstars. So this is when they were still hanging out in West Hollywood with all the singer-songwriters and hanging out at booth #4 at Dan Tana's, writing songs, you know, chilling with their buddies, having a couple of vodka tonics, eating chicken parm and some penne, and all is good in the world. And they didn't even know that this song was gonna be #1 when they wrote it. So anyway, let's just keep checking on these. Couple more minutes. Again, you just wanna get a nice golden brown color on both sides, and then you're gonna finish them in the oven. So don't worry about that, but these are gonna be so good. But anyway, like I was talking about before, I'd love to hear in the comments, what's your favorite era? And what's your favorite album, favorite song? Do you have a favorite band member? I love Glenn Frey, but I also love Don Henley. Like I said, I saw him in the 90s and maybe even the early 2000s. When he broke away from the band, like Eagles basically broke up in 1980 and they took a 14-year hiatus, which is crazy. But they went off to do their solo careers, right? Glenn Frey, The Heat Is On. Don Henley did, you know, End of the Innocents and the summer song, which I love. But then they ended up coming back together. I think it was like 97. They did Reunited Tour, and they did really well. And then, you know, sadly, Glenn Frey passed away a couple years ago. He was one of my favorites. He was the one that really wanted to make the Eagles a rock band. You know what I mean? So, and Henley was the one that had the voice. Like, he started out as a drummer, which he still did, but he was the one with the voice. He really was. All right, we're gonna just keep these going. So I'm gonna fry up the rest of these, then we're gonna come back. I'm gonna show you guys how to do the Dan Tana style. We're gonna layer the sauce, put these guys on. I'm gonna get some yummy mozzarella and pop them in the oven, and then we're gonna finish it off. And then I'm gonna show you guys how to make the penne arrabbiata, the spicy, angry sauce. And we're gonna have an awesome dinner at the end. And listen to Best of My Love by the Eagles, the song of the week. Okay guys, it's time to make the chicken parm to go in the oven. So just to recap, I used 3 chicken breasts that were kind of small. You can use 2 large ones if you want. You're gonna butterfly them or cut them into like lengthwise into smaller pieces. You're gonna do your flour, egg, breadcrumb, put them out on a tray, and you're gonna fry them in about a 1/2 inch of oil till they're nice and crispy and golden brown, not too overcooked. Drain them on paper towels. The sauce is just a simple tomato sauce, you guys, nothing fancy. Literally crushed tomatoes, a little olive oil, salt, pepper. I put a little bit of basil in there. You could do Italian seasoning or oregano if you want, dried of course, just a little bit. And some garlic, and that's it, because for the chicken parm, you really want that golden crunch and the chicken and the cheese and all that to come out, and the sauce should really just be neutral. Nothing fancy. So I just used San Marzano tomatoes out of a can, which are totally fine. Heated it up a little, and now I'm gonna show you how to layer this in the dish. It's going in the oven for about 5-10 minutes at 400. Get the cheese all nice and melty, and then if you wanna get a little extra bubble, you can always broil it for another minute at the end. So let's get going. And then we're gonna do our penne. So, like I mentioned, the secret to keeping the chicken nice and crunchy and not soggy is putting your sauce a layer on the bottom first. So that's not too hard. And you don't want too much to where it's swimming in it, but you know, you want some of that nice, tasty tomato on the bottom. And then we're gonna layer a little bit on top of the chicken too, but you wanna just get that nice base in there. And then for the chicken, we're gonna just nestle these guys in here. Kind of see if I can arrange them accordingly. Since I have an oval pan, you could do a larger pan if you want to, but this is gonna be mine. These are like skinnier, smaller pieces. This is actually air chilled chicken from Central Market. You guys know I used to be a food stylist for H-E-B, and we would do these huge chicken shoots of all of their chicken that they actually sold in the store and in Central Market. And they had like, you wouldn't even believe how many levels of chicken and grades. This is like one of the top grades. So it's like organic, skinless, boneless, air chilled chicken. All right, so I'm gonna just layer these guys in. And you know what? Let's do a little sauce first, and then I'll put these guys on top, since I'm gonna have to kind of layer it on top. So, like I said, and you don't want it to be too watery, so try and get some of the chunky goodness so it doesn't make your breading soggy. So we're gonna just do a little bit on top. And we're gonna have a lot of cheese. So for the cheese, I used 1 ball of fresh mozzarella, and I just sliced it pretty thin because you want the cheese to melt. You don't want it to be too chunky. Oh my God, this is looking so delicious already. But I used one of these things. It's like a cheese slicer with the wire. Because mozzarella is so soft, it's really hard to cut thin slices with a knife. So I would recommend getting one of these, and you just kind of slice the ball into little slices, and you can tear it by hand too if you want, but like, see, it's pretty thin. So I'm gonna let's layer some of this on here first, and then I'll get the other 2 pieces of chicken on there. I'm probably gonna do at least 2 pieces for chicken, because why not? And I've even got some extra little scrappy pieces that are going right in there. So just kind of layer them on top. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'll show you guys at the end. This is gonna be so good. And I'm not covering the chicken fully with the sauce because I want some of that crunchy stuff to show up. So I'm gonna just lay that one there. And then this guy, kind of go right in here. Here, let's see if I can tuck him in. It's like a Jenga chicken game here. Okay, so a little more sauce here. And you guys, this is so easy. Your kids could do it, really. But if you're feeling fancy and LA style, make sure you have a nice red glass of wine with it. Or a vodka tonic in the spirit of the Eagles. Why not? Like I said, I'm working, so I can't be drinking a vodka tonic, but hey, maybe later. Okay, so we're just getting all that cheese in here. I'm gonna top a little bit more. But again, I'm keeping some of that crunchy goodness here showing through so that it doesn't, you know, get too sogged up and completely covered where you can't even see the chicken. So I'm just gonna pop that guy in there. And it doesn't have to be pretty or perfect. So into the oven, 5-10 minutes. I might broil it at the end just to get a little bubbliness. And then I'm just gonna top it with some chopped parsley. And we'll set that aside, and I can always reheat it in the oven later when I want to eat it. You guys could do the same thing. You could actually cook it and then just reheat it in the oven, like 350 for 10-15 minutes, something like that. Or even just do this and then pop it in the oven before you're ready to eat it if you want to make it ahead of time. So let's get this in the oven, and then I will be back once it's done and golden and bubbly and cheesy. Okay guys, here it is, the chicken parm. Look at that delicious cheese, chicken, yummy sauce on top. Oh my God, this is gonna actually be so delicious. I cannot wait to try it. And right now I have some water boiling. I'm cooking my penne. It's gonna take about 10-11 minutes to do that. And then I'm gonna show you guys how to make the spicy Arrabbiata sauce in a couple of minutes. And then at the end, we're gonna have it all together, and it's gonna be so delicious. So stay tuned, be back in a few. Okay guys, it's time to make the spicy pasta. This was Don Henley's favorite dish. And like I mentioned, they ate it all the time at Dan Tana's booth number 4. So this is gonna go absolutely delicious with our chicken parm. And I'm gonna show you how to make it. It's so easy, actually. I've got some penne that I already cooked, and I saved a little bit of the pasta water just in case you want to thin your sauce out a little bit. Here we've got a can of San Marzano tomatoes, and I just add a little bit of salt and pepper and a little bit of dried basil. It's really the same sauce that we just used for the chicken parm, but we're gonna spice it up a little bit. We've got some Parmesan cheese, parsley for finishing. I've got some garlic cloves. I'm gonna, probably 5 or 6 of those, we're gonna cut up and put in the oil, in with the hot red pepper flakes and a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're gonna just toss everything together. We're gonna plate it, top it with the cheese and the parsley, and it's gonna be absolutely delicious. So we have, let's get all the ingredients ready here. We've got, like I said, some parsley I'm gonna chop up later. 5-6 cloves of garlic. We're just gonna mince those up, kind of small, and you want to make sure that your oil is not too hot because the garlic will burn. So we're gonna just chop these up. Kind of mince it, really. Depends on how you like your garlic. You can even slice it too. If you prefer to do slicing, you know, that's fine too. But I'm gonna just kind of chop this up roughly. Do sort of a mince, small pieces. You don't want to bite into too much garlic, but it'll have a really nice flavor when this is all done. So, like I said, about 5 or 6 cloves. You can add more if you like. But it's really the red pepper flakes that are gonna make this so delicious, you guys. So, all right, just chop that up a little bit more. Okay, so I've got my pan heating. And I didn't heat the oil ahead of time because, again, you don't want the garlic to burn, because if you leave the oil in there too long, it will burn. So, 1/3 of a cup. I'm using a light olive oil because it's better for frying. You don't want to use an extra virgin because that's gonna burn. It doesn't have as high of a smoke point. So, but this has a nice light olive oil flavor. So we'll just let that heat up for a minute. Like I said, the pasta is already cooked, and once we make the sauce, I'm gonna just toss everything in there, and then I'll plate it, and we'll top it with the cheese and the parsley, and have it with our chicken parm, which is waiting to be eaten behind me. Yeah. All right, so we'll get that kind of hot in there. Let me just get this parsley. So we get this in here. You can hear it sizzling, not too high though. Who doesn't love the smell of cooking garlic? Oh my gosh. I can only imagine Dan Tana's smelled like garlic and olive oil every night while the Eagles were writing The Best of My Love and Lion Eyes, you guys. How cool would it have been to actually have lived back then, which I did, but I was like 5 years old. So the reason I love this time period was I was a kid, you know, my parents in the mid-70s, they always played cards with their friends. And they would come over on a Friday night and they would have cocktails, and they had like Gordon Lightfoot playing and Stevie Wonder and Neil Diamond, and they would be laughing and eating and drinking and having a ton of fun. I was, like I said, 5, so my sister wasn't, I don't think, even born yet. Maybe she was a baby. Who knows where she was on those nights, but I was probably playing upstairs with my Slinkies and I don't know, Barbies, who knows what, but you know, music was always a huge thing in our house. My parents loved music. My dad had those reel-to-reel things, and he had stacks of albums. I used to just sit in the living room and go through all of those albums, like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Peter Frampton was a big one. I remember when Steely Dan came out, that was a huge one too. And he always had his music blaring on those reel-to-reels, which I don't even think those are around anymore, but I always loved music too. I don't know if you guys know, I used to sing in jazz choir, show choir. I was in musical theater, chorus, all of that in high school. And yeah, I loved it. We did competitions. I was Rosalia in West Side Story. I was up for Anita, but I wasn't so much into acting as I was singing and dancing. So I didn't get the lead, but I got to sing America and I Feel Pretty, which was kind of cool. But I've always loved music, and like I said, Groovy Eats is all about taking you guys through those decades, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because those are the decades I was a kid and I grew up listening to all this music, and music and food bring memories together, and even stronger when it's the two of them together. So that's really why I wanted to start this show, because I love to cook, I love food, I love music, and I really want to just pay tribute to some of the amazing artists and musicians and bands that I grew up with. Like I said, season 1, we're starting with the 70s. I'll probably do 10 or 15 episodes, and then we're gonna move into the 80s and then the 90s. So the show will be going on for a while, but we're just getting started. So like I said, right now we're in the 70s. This is 1975, West Hollywood, baby. Okay, so this is a pretty low heat, and I purposely did that because I didn't want to burn this on camera and have to cut new garlic. So it looks like it's softening, it's starting to bloom. So now we are gonna add the red pepper flakes in. And we're gonna just toast these for a little while with the garlic. And that's gonna release some of the oils and the heat, and it's gonna give it that really nice spicy flavor. This is gonna be so good, you guys. So good. I love spicy food. I don't know about you guys. But again, if you wanna just make the chicken parm and you're not a big spicy fan, just use the same sauce you did for the chicken parm, a regular marinara with some garlic and basil and salt and pepper and olive oil, and it's perfectly fine. But I just thought this would be fun as a tribute to the Eagles and Don Henley, bringing those days to life at Dan Tana's in 1975. And yeah, I hope some of you guys maybe get to see the Eagles again if you can get to Vegas. There's several shows coming up, I think through mid-April. But yeah, you know, I would love to see them one more time, but I think the tickets are a lot, so we'll see. Maybe I can find one last minute, who knows. I haven't been to Vegas in a really long time. So Anyway, we're gonna just let this cook for like another few minutes. We really just wanna get that heat in there with the oil. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt, just some kosher salt, just a little bit. And a little bit of pepper, and a little more heat. And this is such a simple sauce. I mean, this would actually be good on anything, even chicken itself, or I don't know, fish maybe might be good. So actually it would be really good on shrimp too. I took a cooking class at the Institute of Culinary Education, actually several, but one of them was a Spanish surf and turf course, and we made some spicy shrimp just like this. It had the olive oil, the garlic, the red pepper flakes, a little bit of parsley, a little bit of lemon juice, and some white wine. And shrimp, you guys, it cooks in like 3 minutes. So good. Actually, I think there might have even been a little bit of butter in there too. And then you just serve it with crusty bread. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off topic here. And if you're ever in New York City, there's a place, I don't know if they're still open, but we used to go for happy hour when I worked in advertising every Friday night. It's called Sala 19, and they have that shrimp there, and they serve it in a little ceramic clay pot. So it has got the butter and the shrimp and the heat and the bread. And anyway, that might have to be my next recipe that I make. So, okay, so this looks like it's nice and toasted up. So now we are gonna actually just add in the tomato sauce. Like I said, we're gonna stir this in. Just gonna kind of mix it around and let it cook a little, because the San Marzano tomatoes, you wanna cook them a little so you get rid of some of that raw flavor. And then we're gonna let that cook for a few minutes, and then we'll toss the pasta in, and once the sauce kind of comes together, I don't know if you guys can see this, you guys, but yum. There's garlic and olive oil, red pepper flakes. This is gonna be so good. And the reason I used a wide kind of skillet pan is because there's a lot of pasta going on here, right? And it's kind of hard to stir it in a taller pot. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And it's also easier for you guys to see what I'm actually doing and what the food is looking like on camera. So we're gonna just give us about, I don't know, a few minutes, let it cook for a minute. So we wanna get it hot enough. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit, that it all kind of comes together. And yes, there is a lot of olive oil in here, but once it kind of simmers together, it's gonna be so delicious. And I can't wait to eat it. Oh my gosh. I'm actually supposed to be somewhere at 6:30 today, and I'm like, I'm still filming my show. And I need to eat my chicken parm and my penne. Okay, so I'm gonna let this cook for a few minutes, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so the sauce has been cooking, I don't know, a little over 5 minutes. So 5-10 minutes, you can let it just kind of simmer, not on high heat, but you just want all those flavors to melt together. And it does look like there's some oil in here because we did use a lot, but it's gonna all toss in with the pasta. So what we're gonna do next, I'll just put this down over here, is we're gonna get some of this cooked pasta that I just made, and we're gonna toss it right in here. I'm just gonna do little bits at a time. A little more in there. I might have a little more pasta than I do sauce. Let's try that first. You can always add a little more. Toss this in, you guys. This looks so good. I can only imagine what it was like to sit at Dan Tana's and have a glass of wine or a vodka tonic, some spicy pasta, listening to some music. And actually, it's still open, Dan Tana's, which if I'm in LA next time, I am going for sure. And it's fun because they name all of their dishes after movie stars. Like this is actually Penne Arrabbiata a la Michael Caine. And apparently there's a dish named after George Clooney. There's a bunch of people. If you look at their menu, go to their website, a lot of the dishes have the names of celebrities named, which is sort of fun. And unfortunately, Dan Tana actually just passed away. So bless his heart. This is in tribute of him as well. So you guys, here it is. This is like absolutely delicious. So what I'm gonna do, let's turn this off. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plate this. We're gonna top it with the parsley and the cheese. I've got my chicken parm ready to go, and we're gonna take a bite and have a little dinner, and it's gonna be delicious. So see you in a second. Okay guys, here it is. We have our chicken parm ready to go and our spicy penne arrabbiata. I cannot wait to dig in. This is gonna be so good, you guys. So let's start plating. I'm gonna put a little bit of this pasta on my plate first because it's gonna be really, really good. A little bit of that on there. And the sauce looks so good. You can see all the red pepper flakes and garlic and olive oil. It smells so good, you guys. Okay, we're gonna move that over here. Put that plate down. And you guys, look at all this cheese. Oh my God. So it's been sitting here for a second, but this is gonna be so good. Look at that cheese. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna get a little extra sauce. We're gonna drizzle that over the top. Oh my God, this is so good, you guys. I cannot wait. And you know what? I might make a vodka tonic later. Okay, so we're gonna top everything with a little extra cheese. We've got some parm. Oh my God, you can never have enough cheese. We've got some fresh chopped parsley here. Just gives a little fresh flavor, a little pop of color. Look at that. Tiny pinch of salt and a little extra pepper, because why not? Add a little more heat, right? Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good, you guys. So this is season 1, and this is episode 3. Groovy Eats, the Eagles, the SoCal Sound. Like I said, you can get the full story, all the background on the Eagles, the song, the album, their other albums, the history of the Eagles, down to a T. I've got a Substack essay, the blog post on the artfulgourmet.com. Substack is Artful Gourmet as well. And I have a podcast out on Spotify, Apple, all of them. Just look for Groovy Eats under the Artful Gourmet podcast. You'll see the latest episode. And it goes way into detail, and the music's on there, and it's so much fun. I wanted this video to be more about the cooking, so didn't dive into the history as much, but let's dig into the food. That's what this is all about. So I'm gonna cut this up a little bit and try a bite. This looks so good, you guys. A little extra sauce. Oh my gosh. Crunchy, it didn't get soggy. You don't want your sauce to be too watery either, so if it's a little water, you can drain it a little. That's actually a food styling trick that we do when we're plating sauce. And salsa is you want to drain some of that water out, otherwise it just pools around on the plate. So if you like a little thicker sauce, just cook it down, drain it a little bit. But I did add a tiny bit of the pasta water into the pasta just to keep it smooth and silky, and all that goodness just came together. So, You guys, oh my God, the spice. Oh my God, it's so good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'd love if you would put into the comments, what are your favorite songs by the Eagles? Do you have a special memory from the 70s? Favorite album, favorite singer, favorite musician? Would love to hear it in the comments. And if you love the show, please share it with a friend, another Eagles fan or somebody that loves Italian food, because who doesn't love Italian food? And yeah, join me for the next episode. It'll probably be out in the next week or so. We're gonna dive into later 70s, and we're gonna do some disco, so that's gonna be fun. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for, joining me today and watching me cook these awesome recipes for you guys. I really hope you check out the podcast and the blog. Get the full story, listen to the music, because I know I've been listening to it all week. There's actually some really good documentaries that I have watched as well about the Eagles, their whole history of the Eagles. It's amazing, and it goes through their whole history from when they started until today. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the recipes. Have a groovy day, and until next time, take it easy.